Now, the Electoral Commission has begun the countdown to the highly anticipated 2024 general election. Commencing this month, the EC will embark on a series of outlined activities nationwide, leading to the election day in December. While the announcement has generated interest, it has also sparked mixed reaction, with some political parties citing lack of consultation by the Electoral Commission. My colleague Samuel Mbura joins me with detailed breakdown of the election calendar. Mbura, what exactly is the EC saying?
Yeah, we know that we are in the last month of the first quarter for this year, and a critical year, for instance, election year, for instance, the political parties are waiting anxiously for the Electoral Commission to put out its register. What we have from our sources within the EC is what I am going to break down for you, indicating that they have agreed, if nothing changes. This is what they are tabling before the political parties. We know there will be an IPAC meeting on Thursday, and that's what the EC intends to put before them for deliberation. So beginning next month, 1st of April to May 26, the Electoral Commission will start a 56-day public education on the voter registration across the country. So the education alone will take 56 days.
So what this is to prepare the minds of the public ahead of the voter registration exercise?
Exactly. So what you need to know, the do's and don'ts, and why people should be interested. So just to whip public interest in the upcoming exercise. So May 7 to May 27, 2024, there'll be the voters registration exercise. So they'll open for new entrants to come and then do what? Apply and go through the process. On the 30th of May, there'll be a nationwide exercise to replace missing voters' ID. So if your voters' ID is missing, you have the opportunity on the 30th of May to get that replaced anywhere you find yourself in the country. July 9 to 18th will be the submission of the provisional voters register to the political party. So after collating the register and then collecting whatever information that they will need, they will put it before the political parties for further deliberation. And between 15th to 24th of July, there will be the exhibition of the voters register again. They will definitely involve the political parties to raise concerns for any amendment if need be. And if from the 30th of August to the 5th of September, there will be a submission of the final voters register to the political parties after the voters exhibition. So
this will suggest that after the exhibition, the submission will mean that this is the final product.
This is the final product. So if you have concerns, let us deal with them before we get into the main election.
Okay.
So after the submission of the final voters register to the political parties, between September 9 to 13th, there will be nominations of candidates for presidential and parliamentary elections. So if you have a candidate who wants to contest whether on a political party ticket or independent, then this is the opportunity for you to submit your nominations to the EC, and that will be between the 9th to 13th of September 2024.
And I'm guessing that within this same period, the EC will also establish the suitability of the aspirants, whether they are in good standing to contest the elections, and whether or not they are not. And then, so between the September 9 and 13 nomination, you go through. I'm sure there will be vetting as well,
along the
line. then to come to a conclusion whether a candidate meets all the constitutional requirements to stand for the presidential election.
Exactly. So from there, they'll move for the balloting. You know, after you go through the process, the next stage is the balloting for positions on the presidential ballots. That will be on the 23rd. Then 24th will be the balloting for parliamentary positions across the country. Then from 24th, after the balloting is done, there'll be a special voting for selected professionals. We know the police and other institutions that have the privilege to vote under the special arrangements will also have their voting on the 2nd of December. You know, there's this controversy as to whether the EC is considering bringing it to November or so. You know, there were some controversies and all that. EC says that, okay, we are starting the legal framework this year, but it will take place in 2028. So the election date has remained unchanged. This is what they are going forward with the date and all that. So the main election is on the 7th of December, 2024. And within 3 days of after December 7th, after the election,
the EC is
expecting to declare the presidential results.
All right, this is a very detailed program
exactly
ahead of election 2024. Thank you very much, Samuel Mbura, member of our political desk. So, I mean, what was the reaction of the various political parties? I'm privileged to be joined via Zoom the Deputy General Secretary of the NDC, Deputy General Secretary of the NDC, Mustafa Gbande, the Communication Director with the MPP, Richard Ahiagba, and of course, Duke Aaron Sasu, spokesperson and youth leader for the Movement for Change. Gentlemen, thank you very much for your time and welcome to the pause. Let me start with you, Mustafa. You've heard the Electoral Commission. This, according to them, is provisional. They will meet at IPAC on Thursday to firm it up. But what is your general reaction to what the EC has put forth?
Thank you very much, and good afternoon to my colleague Ahiagba and then others at the other side. Well, so to the best of my knowledge, we have been calling for these schedule of work at the EC for a very long time now, and there have been deaf ears. Until Thursday or so, the director of our elections issued a blueprint to the Electoral Commission. Then swiftly, this was followed by a notice of meeting scheduled on the 7th of March. And so to us, that was a good, move for us to discuss the issues as stakeholders. And that would have finished the matter. It's however a surprise that we woke up this morning and there have been publications in the daily graphics to the effect of a timetable of a sort. So we are now asking questions. If the Electoral Commission knew that it had a timetable or some proposed sort of timetable, why is it that in a very long time he hasn't brought that to the attention of the political parties? And if it knew that it was calling for a meeting to discuss these matters, then why put it out? So it looks as if the Electoral Commission is tying political parties' hands behind their back.
How are they doing that?
Whatever we are going to discuss at the meeting, they have gone behind the windows to publish in the graphics. And I'm saying that in the ordinary business of the Electoral Commission, notices are not done in that manner. If the Electoral Commission intends to communicate with the public, it does so in a responsible manner, in a manner that people can respond to it as if it is from Electoral Commission. Now, we are forced to be discussing, speculations and forced to be discussing publications in the dailies. That is not the mode of, publicizing schedules of the Electoral Commission. So what are we discussing? How tentative are these? Will the Electoral Commission come out and say that it wasn't from us, we didn't communicate it officially? So to the best of my knowledge, we are waiting to have a meeting and table our concerns if we have one. But on the hand side, with all the speculations being discussed, I'm concerned that we have not made detailed inputs to guide the Electoral Commission.
Mustafa, isn't it the reason why you have the opportunity to make that input on Thursday at the IPAC meeting? That is the very reason why the Electoral Commission should not go at the windows and leave the main door. Because we are going on Thursday as political parties to have the opportunity to guide the Electoral Commission in terms of our inputs. The main contenders or contestants in this election will be present at that meeting. All right.
So to have a publication in the news for me as neither here nor there.
I thank you very much.
I'm saying that
if I can just allow, Mustafa, just a minute, if I can just allow Richard Ahiagba and Aaron to also come in, and then I will come and ask you whether or not you find this acceptable or you have any amendments that you want to put forth. I will do that. But let me bring in Mr. Richard Ahiagba of the MPP. He is the Director of Communication. Mr. Ahiagba, so the EC said this is provisional, and they hope to firm it up at IPAC on Thursday. But looking at the timelines, is this something that you can work with?
Well, thank you very much. Good afternoon to my brother, Mustafa, and to your good self, your viewers.
Thank you.
I don't think that political parties can micromanage the Electoral Commission. We are supposed to offer our input, but ultimately, in the nature of things, the EC is independent. So if they so will to consult us through IPAC for input, ultimately, they have a mandate That mandate allows them to organize elections every 4 years in relation to presidential and parliamentary elections. They have that mandate. We don't share that mandate with them. And so they must execute that mandate given the internal constraints they have and the planning that they have to work to. So for me, this issue is for us to take note and order our own internal political activities to reflect what timing they have come up with. It is not one for us to grandstand about to say that, oh, they didn't consult us or they went through the window instead of the door. That's just NDC trying to just act as if they are supposed to be managing the EC or they must tell the EC what to do. And I don't think that we should run our democracy that way. And there isn't anything to quibble about. If there is something to quibble about, quite honestly, it is the EC whose timetable, in terms of course, in terms of the day of election that is set, that is going to be December 7th. And so the rest of the planning they have to do, they'll do it consistent with what challenges and flexibilities they have within their organization. So we cannot now begin to impose on them. We are to adjust our planning to them because they are the referees in the game. I'm not sure the last time my brother Mustafa saw a football game where the team is telling the referee what is foul and what is not foul. It's up to the referee's discretion based on the rules of the game to determine that is and that is. Whether you agree or not, he is the referee and everybody agrees for him to be the referee. So for me, it's something the New Patriotic Party will take note of, and we're going to plan our internal processes to align with what the EC is doing. It's not for us to tell them what they must do and what day we agree with or not. By the way, Mustafa and the NDC, they just recently came to IPAC. They were sitting out. So what is this thing about? They have just shown up late in the game and tried to determine how the referee manages the game. They should just order their affairs and come along and let's have an election on December 7th.
All right, I'll come back to you so that we can deal with some specifics, including the voter registration exercise, which obviously always bring about tension between the parties' view of what the EC put forth. But let me pick your initial talks on this matter. Aaron Sasu, from the perspective of the movement for Ghana, is this something that you welcome?
Thank you so much. I believe you meant the movement for change. And special greetings to yourself, to viewers and respectable panelists this afternoon. What I would say is that we welcome the timelines. I think that the timelines are quite progressive. All what we would admonish the Electoral Commission on is on the need to stick to the timelines and not necessarily having random postponement of these timelines, because it affects the planning process of the respective stakeholders within the electoral process. And it also allows for propaganda elements to say some way push out the narrative that probably the Electoral Commission is up to something. So sticking to timelines becomes important for us. Once you have laid out that these are the timelines you want to work with, then the commission should be determined to stick to those timelines. But another important conversation that we believe the Electoral Commission should try to consider is the possibility of admitting independent candidates to IPAC. The reason stems from Article 63 of the Constitution, which does not discuss political parties within the limits of the Constitution. It discusses persons who are vying for the presidency. It means that the individual within the political discourse is the most important element in that regard. The individual who becomes a candidate of a political party is only using the party as a vehicle. At the end of the day, all rules and regulations within the Electoral Commission's ambit should seek to project the ideals or the intentions of the Constitution.
So currently you are not represented at IPAC?
The current Electoral Commission stakeholder engagement does not admit an independent force into the IPAC system. So our recommendation is that the conversations of an independent candidate has become quite prominent within our country. Honorable Alan Chairman, for example, is a prominent force that cannot be ignored within this electoral cycle. And so once an independent candidate is a force to reckon with and a major stakeholder in the electoral process, then for the purpose of transparency, accountability, for the purpose of the people who believe in that independent candidacy to have that confidence in trust in the Electoral Commission, then they should be admitted to the IPAC to ensure that conversations are widely agreed on. But less that we are confident that the timelines are not ones that will bar our performance in the electoral process.
But Duke, before you present me also, I mean, you want representation, but first step would be to write to the EC and say that we want to be represented. Have we done so?
So that is not what I cannot discuss that here because there is a team structure that addresses that.
All right.
But what I wanted to put out there is that the EC should open up for that. So two things. The opening up is where the EC himself says that, listen, we are welcoming independent stakeholders, or where we are also writing to them. But at the end of the day, it will be a decision of the Electoral Commission as to whether they want to accommodate same or not.
All right.
And so what we are saying is that they should be prepared to accommodate whether we are writing or whether they are inviting us.
All right. Now, let's deal with the specific issues. Let me bring in Mustafa Bandi at this very moment. So what caught my attention was the fact that the EC, according to this proposed timetable, wants to dedicate April 1 to May 26, 56 days of public education on the voter registration exercise. And then after, the voter registration exercise will take place between May 7 and May 27. I know this is just a sketch. The EC in the coming days may want to put some flesh on it. Now, one of the key issues that dominated media discussion was whether or not going into 2024, the issue relies solely on the Ghana card for the registration purposes. If that should happen, then there should be a CI that will go to Parliament to regulate the registration of voters onto the voters register. As we look forward to this day, what is the position of the NDC on this matter?
Thank you very much. And first of all, let me address this. In the NDC, we do not relate to the Electoral Commission by reference to Dankwa Institute. We rely solely on the Constitution of Ghana and CI 127, including any relevant law that guide our institutions in terms of conduct of institutions and their business. As we speak today, there is no document formally before political parties. I'm surprised that my brother is seeking to communicate from a document that is not properly before the MPP, except he will admit that by some opportunity, they are aware long before time that what the timetable stands for. As we speak today, there's no document before. So what are we speaking to? We would be dealing with speculations, and we don't speak to speculations. Like I said, the Electoral Commission has invited the NDC for an IPAC meeting. These are among other issues that will be tabled for discussions at IPAC. If we get to IPAC, the things that we agree with, we'll discuss indoors. Then if we have disagreements, we can come outside the table. But to come and be, using the back door, where you expect us to speak to the issues in public, that is not the forum for us to discuss critical issues like preparing a timetable. And I'm saying that the Electoral Commission must admit that IPAC is a forum for all political parties to, make inputs, including what my brother just said. I'll be happy that they will grant the independent aspirants the opportunity to join IPAC. But the MPP will fight it tooth and nail because they know that movement of change joining IPAC means that they are dead. They will be criticized because movement of change is a baby, a thrown out baby of the MPP. And so they will never agree. So I'm looking forward for us to discuss these issues at IPAC as stakeholders so that we can make genuine input into what the Electoral Commission has. We are not against the commission. Ghanaians are not against the commission. Ghanaians are only open to processes that are transparent, proposals that are feasible, activities that gives credibility to the work of the Electoral Commission so that it can deliver on its mandate. The mandate of the Electoral Commission is so crucial that it cannot be compromised. And
but going through this proposed timetable, what input will you want to put forth?
I have not read what you are reading from. Like I said, I've heard that there was some publication in the graphics. Ayaba knows that institutions like the Electoral Commission do not communicate to political parties through the back door. Nobody does that. It has never happened. And so I cannot be talking to speculations. I can only speak when the subject matter is tabled at IPAC. Or if it is not tabled at IPAC, then we can say that EC have denied political parties the right forum to make inputs. Until then, what am I going to talk about? We don't just get up and be responding to issues of law. The Electoral Commission is a creature of law. It's not a creature of government like Dankwa Institute, where Ayagba is sitting and talking from. It is a creature of law, and the law must work. We respond to the Electoral Commission with the law.
Mr. Richard Nyagba, as far as I know, is the communication director of the MPP and doesn't speak for the Institute on this show. But let me bring him in. Let me bring him in for
authoritative intellectual law firm. That's where they pick all their mischief from.
Right.
But so, I do know that the Electoral Commission is a creature of law.
Let me allow some reaction from Mr. Richard Nyagba. Mr. Nyagba, I mean, this is a proposal. The EC says they will firm it up on Thursday, but the timelines provided, registration of voters, they will flesh it out in the coming days. You want to make an input, or you think that this is satisfactory enough?
Yeah, thank you. So, I was just trying to refer my brother. He didn't talk about the Constitution. He's talking about some other document. The Constitution is clear on what the EC must do. They are not subject to anybody's remote control regime or anybody telling them what to do. They have a mandate. That mandate, if the EC decides that, okay, they want to do the election on November 7th, that is a conversation, it's a constitutional issue. We have to look at it. But matters to do with when they want to do voter registration and all of that, it is internal administrative timetable that they have to make. That one is not subject to any law, it's not subject to anybody's review. It is for us, the New Patriotic Party, to say, okay, well, now the EC said they will do this on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. What do we do in our own planning so we can align? It is for us to align. It is for them to issue a timetable. If they say they are going to do it in 1 week and we don't like it, we can appeal to them, but we cannot subject them to our recommendations. And so that's the point I'm making. Whether it is properly before us or not, the idea is that the right to make any timetable is theirs. So if they have put one and decide to put it in the newspapers, and you, as a legitimate news house, you have verified and you ensure that this is document that is worth conversation, then let's speak to it. For me, it is okay. If we have any concerns at all, we cannot force them to change it. So we'll align ourselves. If indeed by close of day tomorrow, that becomes the status quo, we'll just work to align our internal processes. As for my brother, Mustafa, you allow him some small space for mischief, because as our presidential candidate just said recently, they are running out of ideas. So this mischief can sustain them until they come by some groundbreaking ideas. But for now, they are running dry, and mischief is the only way they can engage.
Duke, you have anything to add?
Yes, so it's just to reiterate the fact that we have every confidence in the Electoral Commission. What we will say is that they should once again stick to the timelines. And I think I just needed to reiterate that. And when you interfere with the timelines that you have set yourself, the speculations end up, being driven out there. But once again, we would insist strongly on the need that a force like Alan Chairman's Movement for Change should be given audience on IPAC. And that is what I want to reiterate again. I was hoping that my big brother, Mr. Richard Nyagba, would have mentioned one or two on that. But since he's trying to avoid
this is a matter for the Electoral Commission, not for Richard.
I was hoping you pass a comment on that, but he seems to be avoiding the conversation about the movement. But anyway,
if you indulge me, I think that they are trying their best. It adds to our political process, but I think that they should just pack baggage and come home. What efforts they are engaged in is not going to amount to anything. They should come back home where they belong.
It's extremely funny how my big brother speaks on these matters, because interestingly, I think that if there is a force that you don't want to underestimate, is the movement for change. And it's unfortunate that...
No, I don't underestimate you. I'm only saying that come home.
If I may land quickly, it's unfortunate that the NPP will be leaving power in such a manner. But what we are hoping for is that within the context of NPP going into opposition, they would also allow for broader discourse, and they would be part of the trumpeters of the discourse for further and broader engagement within IPAC. And we are hoping that such goodwill is one that they will be leaving power with and will leave in office with. I'm sure that my big brother that's something that my big brother will want to engage on, and gladly he will.
Right. So Mustafa, I'd like to give you the final word on this matter.
Basically, the NDC is not against the Electoral Commission. We are willing to work with the Electoral Commission, and we will always work with the Electoral Commission. Let them confidently come out clean and sit with stakeholders. We call stakeholders because without stakeholders, then you are making the rules for yourselves. We can make things better if we engage to see how best the election can be feasible within the timelines of the Electoral Commission, that our resources can be judiciously applied within the constraints of our budget, and to ensure that we create the enabling environment for all Ghanaians to demonstrate their power through a vote. That is all the argument. That is the conversation. As for rigging an election, we are well awake, and I'm sure that on 7th, when we appear in that IPAC meeting, we'll discuss as a family, we'll discuss as stakeholders to find the best solutions, the best support that we can help for Electoral Commission to achieve its objective within the context of credible, free and fair electioneering process.
All right, thank you very much, Mustafa Gbande. He's a Deputy General Secretary of the NDC. And before you go, the Thursday date still stands for your running mate matter. Nothing has changed?
Still stands. That is why the MPP is busy manipulating all angles, go and attack the NDC this way, go and schedule a date for the day that we are confirming our running mate for IPAC meeting. But we are ready for election. We are going to announce a very credible candidate that they are afraid of. Richard Aguiagban knows that his candidate, is deficient of integrity and credibility. That is what they fear. They can say all the things in this world, but who trusts them? Ghanaians cannot take their word for anything. If Dr. Bawumia speaks, Ghanaians will have to be running away because he's not a man who lives by his words.
All right, thank you very much, Mustafa Gbande. Thank you so much, Mustafa. Regina Yagba, just 30 seconds. I didn't know that you guys are behind, the EC holding of IPAC on Thursday.
Yeah, the NDC, because they can't win the election, they always blame the EC. Last time, you remember in 2020, they said they won the election, and their general secretary, now chairman, said no, they lost it, but he advised them and they refused. But you see, in terms of credibility, I think that the election is a contrast between Dr. Bawumia and the former president. The former president, his verdict card is clear. Ghanaians vetted him, and they know he's not credible. So they voted him out massively. The challenges we're having today is a challenge that everybody is going through. We believe that the economy is coming back. The NDC sees it. They don't have a message. All they have to offer is some bogus idea of 24 hours now. As the sunshine goes on that idea, people are beginning to understand that it's a scam. It is nothing in there, and they don't have anything to propose. You asked my brother Mustafa, it is a couple of months to election. What is their big idea? They don't have any idea. Their plot is to attack Bawumia, to call him a liar, but that is not going to work. Ghanaians know who Bawumia is. Ghanaians knows who Mahama is. He is the one that Ghanaians have vetted and disapprove of.
All right, thank you very much.
And hello.
Thank you very much. Let's leave it, gentlemen. My time is up on this matter. I gave everybody the opportunity to say some few words on other matters. So let us leave it here. So you heard the Director of Communication with the MPP, Richard Ahiagba, the Deputy General Secretary of the NDC, Mustafa Gbande, and of course, Duke Aaron Sasso, the youth wing of the Movement for Change.